Ys Book 1 and 2, one of the first American Turbo CD-ROM games, also packed in years later with the TurboDuo. Both were identical, except the Duo version had a generic white case with TurboDuo imprinted on the disc. Now the numbers 1 and 2 are pretty significant. Why? Because Ys Book 1 and 2 is actually a compilation and an enhanced remake of the first two Ys games released in Japan. In other words, this CD-ROM is actually two games in one. Both are similar in look and feel, but they have different missions to complete and together combine nicely to provide one enchanting RPG. The game has an overhead view as Adol, who is kinda tiny, talks to villagers, solves puzzles, engages in combat, and gains experience winding his way to the end. Now, the storyline is a bit more advanced than, say, a shooting game. In fact, the manual uses the tiniest font size imaginable to fit it all onto one page. Anyone have a microscope handy? The land of Ys was once a place of beauty, ruled by goddesses, priests, and wonderful magic. However, evil appeared, and Ys began to fall into despair and even vanish. Fearing the worst for themselves, the priests wrote down the history of Ys into 6 books, passing them down to their descendants, books that were eventually hidden. It is believed that if Adol, our heroic adventurer, can return the books to statues of the old priests, peace and prosperity will finally return. The good news is, Adol believes this as well, so I guess the quest begins. In the first part of the game, Adol must find the 6 ancient books, one of which is currently retained by the evil Dark Fact. Once found, Adol then moves on to the second part, which is comprised of returning the books and destroying all evil. At the beginning, Adol gets off a giant ship and immediately meets Sarah, who takes him to her shop. This is where the talking begins. She tells him he needs to buy armor, weapons, and much more in order to complete his quest. In other words, duh. Most of the time, though, talking will actually help. There is a lot of text revealing many clues. Hell, you can even talk to trees, and guess what? They give you swords. I guess the point is, talking to anything in this game equals good. At times, a character will randomly pop up with a voice narration instead.
I am truly impressed that you've made it to this lofty point.
These are few and far between, but sound great. In fact, the voice acting overall is solid.
I knew you had the courage to save me.
But the game is not all talk. In typical RPG fashion, many items can be collected, used to open doors or chests, or even gain access to secret areas. You are also often sent on missions, such as returning a silver harmonica, ringing a bell revealing a doorway, or transforming into a goon so that this guy will let you pass over a bridge. Yeah, well, trust me, it makes sense within the context of the game. Adol will run across dungeons quite often in this quest, most of which have a cool boss at the end. You got a green reaper, a red snake, a purple ball-shooting guy, double heads, and a weird puking thing. Ew, what the hell? Some of these dungeons lead to dead ends. Ugh. Others hold a bunch of goodies, such as treasure box keys, armor rings, and of course the various books. Some even have a gimmick, such as a spotlight guiding your way, or tricky transporting mirrors that can be tricky. Now here is a part many people don't like, the combat. To attack, you run into an enemy. Literally. At first, I didn't like this style either. It seemed a tad cheesy. But there is a bit of strategy here, because attacking an enemy head-on is never good. Instead, jabbing slightly to the side or behind is the best method. While it's mostly bumper car action, you will get used to it, and I didn't really mind it in the end. In the second book, where magic items are prominent, equipping fire magic allows an attack from a distance and is a welcome change of pace. When Adol defeats an enemy, he gains experience, strength, and even gold for buying the many enhancements and magic that are available. It is super cool seeing your experience and energy bar expand after defeating large enemies. Nice. The graphics, well, they aren't bad considering it is an early CD title and overhead view. Every village and dungeon has a good look, and you can tell a lot of care went into crafting each. Now, they won't knock your socks off, but they are often bright and colorful with well-done boss animations. There are also a few great cutscenes popping up to supplement the story. The sound, well, I can honestly say this game shines in that department and has a very solid audio package. The music is fantastic and in many ways is pretty well known for this fact. Oh, the boss battle music. Almost all of the sound effects are pretty good and add to the atmosphere, but they are often drowned out by the excellent music. The control takes a little getting used to in terms of the attack patterns we discussed earlier. Equipping yourself, switching between magical items and armament, and navigating the menus, including changing speed or loading a saved game, is extremely quick and easy. I do wish they would allow you to speed up certain dialogue boxes, and I wish Adol could walk in more than 4 directions, but these are minor complaints, and for the most part, the game controls well. Ys Book 1 and 2 is an extremely fun and rather large adventure, with the second book being twice as long as the first. It is also addicting, and you will definitely be returning to find out how the story unravels. It has a great personality, and almost everyone in Ys has a wonderful character. It has excellent pacing overall, and never seemed to slow down except for one point. The amount of backtracking toward the very end did begin to grind on my nerves, but it caused a nice build-up leading to a great conclusion, so it won me over anyway. Now, there is a lot of detail I could still go into related to this one, but like always, I try not to give everything away. Like, for example, if you stand still in the overworld areas, your energy will replenish. Therefore, I would say if it looks fun to you, definitely pick this one up. The care and attention used to both create and port over this game is evident in its precision, its great US translation, and the joy I have in playing it, which overshadows any negatives. A wonderful tale, a brave adventurer, and talkin' timber. Thumbs up. Even after all these years, Ys Book 1 and 2 still stands up as a very strong action RPG. It is a lot of fun with a good look, wonderful pacing, excellent voice acting and narration, phenomenal music, and a good story that makes you want to complete it. Many of these CD-ROM games really did not demonstrate why it was a perfect technology for future gaming, but in my opinion, Ys Book 1 and 2 was one that did.